Call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Felder. Present. Whitman. Here. Gilgrave. Here. Vining. Here. Germaine. Here. Lamore. Present. Mayor Clark.
Present. I'd ask you all please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Guide our working together. Give us wisdom to make the right decisions, your understanding to listen to each other, and your compassion to promote the peace and welfare of the residents of this community.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, first item, please.
The first item is the approval of the regular agenda.
Thank you. Mr. Sell, our acting city manager for this evening. Any items on the agenda that changes from the presentation?
I have no changes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any items from council? Seeing none, a motion would be in order. Councilman Lamore.
Your Honor, make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Felder, the approval of the regular agenda. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder.
Yes.
Whitman. Yes. Steelgrave. Yes. Vining. Yes. Germaine. Yes. Lamore.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item on the is the consent agenda, and item B, approval of payments to vendors. The amount should read $657,235.69, 657,235.69.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council members wish to have pulled for further discussion? Councilman Felder.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to pull item 3749.
Any other items on the consent agenda council wishes to have pulled? Are there any items on the consent agenda those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? So I know there's, I see a few people here this evening. Consent agenda items are listed in the first page or two. Those items, if not pulled by council or by those present, they'll be up for automatic passage to the consent agenda vote. There's two presentations and there's two council actions. The council actions will be discussed in opportunities for comments. So I say that because as you look, if you're looking at the agenda, if there's an item on the consent agenda that you wanted to have a conversation about prior to the vote, now would be the time. Yes, Councilman Biden?
I'd like to pull 3808.
3808, very well. Any other items from council or those present here this evening? Seeing none, a motion would be in order. Councilman Felder?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion that all items not pulled from the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Lamore, that all items on the consent agenda not pulled for further discussion be accepted, placed on file, and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder.
Yes.
Whitman.
Yes.
Steelgrave. Yes. Vining. Germaine. Yes. Lamore.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. Item 3796 is a public hearing to receive and review comments on proposed ordinance 22-005 to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, to amend Article 6, Monroe Parks and Rec Advisory Commission, and there are no comments on file in the Clerk Treasurer's office.
Thank you. So just a clarification as well, there were two items that were pulled from the council for further discussion from the consent agenda, but they get placed then under the council action. We continue with the agenda of the items that are there, which is the public hearings. We have two of those here this evening. So this time, I'll open the public hearing on item 3796. Public hearing to receive and review comments on proposed ordinance 22-005 is to amend the board, commissions, authorities, committees related to the Monroe Parks Recreation Advisory Commission. Any comments from those present here this evening for this public hearing? Any items on item 3796? Seeing no comments? Yes, sir.
Is this on the advisory committee?
it's on the Advisory Commission for the Parks and Recreation, but then there's also the Pedestrian Bicycle Trail Advisory Committee as well. So there's two that are up for public hearing and comments, and then both of them come back under council action. So it is about the Advisory Commission for Parks and Recreation. And then there's one on our agenda this evening regarding Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee. Okay? All right. I'm glad you asked. Okay, that's wonderful then. Okay, that's why I see a lot of nods. That's what we're talking about. So here, no other comments? Thank you. I'll close the public hearing on item 3796. Clerk?
So the next item is item 3801, public hearing to receive and review comments on proposed ordinance 22-006 to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, to add Article 15, Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee, and there are no comments on file in the Clerk Treasurer's office.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing on item 3801 regarding the proposed ordinance 22-006 and related to Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee. Any comments regarding this committee? Yes, sir. Please come forward. Your name and jurisdiction of
Gene
residence.
Hammond.
Okay.
And I'm a lifelong resident of Monroe, and 93, and still ride my bicycle. And I'd be interested in being a member of the advisory committee.
Okay.
And I have a check here that I would like to present to help out with the loop trail,
Oh,
because I'll be riding that a lot because I'm only a block off of 7th Street. Can I give this to anybody tonight?
well, you should probably hold that here because we're making some decisions. Now, that's a great comment because what we're doing with our non-motorized pedestrian and bike is ties to the loop trail. The loop trail, which is going to go out, is proposed to go from 7th Street on out to around the community college and come back on North Monroe Street, is actually a county project. We are a partner, we are supportive, we are in favor of it, but the financing of the loop trail itself is through the Monroe County Commission. So if before you leave this evening, whether we be with Mr. Sell or maybe Clerk Lavoie, we'll make sure you get that information, get your number, so we can get them in contact with you. How about that?
Okay,
That
thank
work?
you.
Okay, just make sure you, either the clerk or Mr. Sell, that you provide your information so we can get a hold of you
After the meeting.
after the meeting.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Other comments this evening regarding public hearing on item 3801? Any other comments? Very well. And see any comments from council? I'll close the public hearing. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is under council action. It's item 3793, proposed ordinance 22-005 to dissolve Parks and Recreation Commission is up for its final reading.
Thank you. Mr. Sell, any additional comments?
Just a brief introduction,
Thank
I
you.
guess, so that we know what we're talking about here. But the recommended action is to eliminate the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. And it's hasn't met for quite a while, and many of its responsibilities in the code are no longer applicable. And with directions the city has taken in recent years to use the YMCA for a lot of its recreation programs and community entertainment programs, and to work with MCOP on the community center and other tot lot and other recreational programs, it's being recommended that it be eliminated with this action tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sell. I'll see if there's any comments from council. I have one. Just to follow up to Mr. Sell, because when you see the word dissolve, it means like, why are we not going to have Parks and Recreation? Well, we are, but we're going to be delivering it in a different fashion with partnerships, as Mr. Sell said, through the MCOP, the YMCA, the tot lot programs. We find that they also were doing some of those programs, and our Parks and Recreation is transformed to a different role, and but they'll still be, the city will still be active with the development of our parks and the council's engaged with the oversight of the recreation, it comes to us in a different fashion. So I just want to give that clarification additional as well. If, unless there's other comments from council, this is a council action item 3793. I think I don't know if there's some others were here, we're talking, I think for the bicycle, not necessarily the parks. With that, a motion will be in order. Councilman Lamore.
Yes, Your Honor. I make a motion that we accept proposed ordinance 22-005, an ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to amend Article 6, Monroe Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, be placed on its final reading.
Support.
There's a motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilwoman Germaini on item 3793, proposed ordinance 22-005 as stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Steelgrave,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-005, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 6, Monroe Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. An ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to amend Article 6, Monroe Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission of the Code of the City of Monroe to dissolve the Monroe Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. The City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Steelgrave,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Please.
The next item is item 3797, proposed ordinance 22-006 to establish bicycle and pedestrian trail advisory committee up for its final reading.
Mr. Sell?
This is on the opposite end of what we just did. This is adding a committee. So in the bicycle and pedestrian trail plan, it was recommended to establish a permanent advisory committee. And basically this action is putting that in place. The ordinance specifies 5 members serving 3 staggered 3-year terms, 3 of which must be city residents. And it's not really written into the proposal, but it's felt that this committee would also work with the Traffic and Safety Committee because they kind of work hand in hand together. So that's the recommendation, is to establish the, lost it already, Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Sell. And with just some additional, within the fact sheet, it has 5 particular items that are listed in there. There's much information regarding how this advisory committee is going to operate and how also interact is our hopes with the other recreation entities that are tying to the loop trail and tying to the, I'll just say the countywide bicycle plan. All these are connected, and we've had conversations to this point. Any comments from City Council? Or if there's no comments, a motion would be in order. Councilman Lomer, or Councilman Felder, you have a question, maybe?
Yes, a brief comment. I know that at the last meeting, I had asked whether there was going to be an amendment for an addition of a council liaison. I just want to make it known, both to you and the committee, that I will not, whether or not that position is going to be available, I will not be seeking appointment for that. I enjoyed my time on the advisory board very much, certainly, but as you well know, I have my hands full with a number of other commitments within the city in terms of their committees. I sit on a state committee for the Michigan DNR, and then I was just recently appointed financial secretary to another nonprofit institution in town. So my plate's full. Let's share the wealth a little bit. So I just wanted to make that known.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up because it wasn't in my note here, and I just kind of went past it. So, in the conversation was about the members of this trail advisory committee and how that might be staffed and what some of those roles may be, including assigning a council as a liaison. The council liaison is one that goes to the meetings, doesn't vote on the recommendation because it'll come back to council. Versus we've talked about other boards where council members are on it, whether it be the pension board or the Commission on the Environment. Those things are different. You have a seat as a voting member. But with the advisory committee, it's going to be making recommendations to council on a whole variety of items, including recommendations that might involve budgets of funding some extension or connectivity or fill in the gaps and voids of our trails. Along with that, there was discussion on the traffic committee as well. Should they have a role there? So I shared with Clerk Lavoie through the last meeting. I've been looking for how we went from 9 members on the traffic committee down to 5. And so staff was able to find the motion when the council passed that, but not really how that change was made. And Mr. Lewis, of course, has been with us for a long time on this area, and he provided his notes. So I'm still researching some of that. I found out, I did learn today that the traffic committee was formed in 1944. Now, I don't think it's probably the same as what it is today, but I still, if you find out how things started, you might know where you're going. So I told Clerk Lavoie we get to go up to the archives again and look through a historic book. So I still am researching that, Councilman Felder, along with the opportunity for the liaison. I guess I'll make a final comment before we vote motion, so it's kind of understood. Boards and commissions and committees are formed by the council. The mayor makes recommendations, the council approves. And most of our boards and commissions are January and June dates. So this, if passed this evening, has 20 days before it's enacted. Of course, now we're the 5th, so that's going to be a Christmas gift, I guess, because it'll be the 25th, if passed by council. And it gives us the time then to put back to the meeting in January to council with some recommendations for members on this advisory committee. And I also then have some finalized the relationship of how we connect them, either an advisory or a seat with the traffic committee. So that's kind of what I'm working on. It kind of intertwines together. And I want you to think that we want to leave something hanging. So Councilman, we will have that at probably the first meeting or 2 that we do the other appointments for January. I don't think the committee will meet before then, of course, until that time. So that's my clarification for that. Thanks for the question. Are there any other comments from council? Again, we haven't got a motion yet, so.
Can I make a motion?
Councilwoman Germaini.
Thank you. Item number 3797, proposed ordinance 22-006 to establish bicycle and pedestrian trail advisory committee up for its final reading. Proposed ordinance 22-006, an ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to add Article 15, Bicycle and Pedestrian Trade Advisory Committee, be placed on its final reading. Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Germaini, supported by Councilman Stillgrave on item 3797, proposed ordinance 22-006, as stated. I know there's several people here. I guess if there's any comment that we'd like to make, if not, we'll move forward with the vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Yes. Vining?
Yes.
Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
So I know there's a few that were here for this reason. So we had the committee that Councilman Felder mentioned, that we had 7 that were seated on that committee. We'll put it out for interest for those that might have an interest in this committee, and whether it be the members that served on that or additional some others as well. So that's the item. Next item, please.
I need to read it.
Oh, I guess.
Ordinance 22-006, Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees, Article 15, Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee. An ordinance to amend Chapter 22, Boards, Commissions, Authorities, and Committees to add Article 15, Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee of the Code of the City of Monroe. The City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Yes. Stillgrave? Yes. Vining?
Yes.
Germaini?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item is item 3749, resolution to adopt 2023 City Council meeting calendar.
Councilman Felder.
Yes, Your Honor. I know that we are listing both the calendar and the days in which we will observe, in which the meetings will observe holidays that take place. I know it's not on the regular meeting agenda, but we sometimes do schedule special meetings, and there was a particular issue with this one last year. April 10th I request that if we have a meeting on April 10th, and I want to give full notice well ahead of time to the administration, that it be moved to April 11th in observance of Easter. That would also align us with the public school calendar for
I'm
the
sorry,
purposes of vacations.
what was the observance for, you said?
Easter?
Okay.
Just want to make that known. It was an issue before. I'm just trying to get out ahead of it.
So I know we don't have it as a holiday.
I know.
You're just making it known now. For
I'm
later?
not, yeah, I'm not
Okay.
suggesting it'd be a paid holiday for city staff. I'm suggesting that we ourselves in this body, if we were to have a meeting on that day, would hold it on the 11th, not on the 10th.
Are you asking to change this proposal at this time?
Currently, there's no meeting scheduled, but I'm saying that sometimes we do take the opportunity. For
I
example,
understand.
our next meeting
I
is
understand.
December 12th, which is a non-regularly scheduled meeting. That's my point. I'm
Thank you.
trying to give notice to administration.
Misunderstood. I thought it was a date, but it's not. But if we have a future date, there's consideration on it. Understand. Okay. So you're not making any amendments to this?
No.
Okay. If there's any other comments on this, on the schedule, the motion would be in order. Councilman
Your Honor?
Felder.
I'd like to motion that item number 3749, that the resolution establishing the 2023 city council calendar be adopted.
Second.
Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Lamore, that item 3749, a resolution to adopt the 2023 city council meeting calendar be accepted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder?
Yes.
Whitman? Steelgrave? Vining? Jermaine? Lamore? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is 3808, resolution to update poverty exemption standards and application.
Councilwoman Vining.
Your Honor, I just needed a brief explanation as to what this means here.
Sure. And it ties kind of the border review, but I'll have Mr. Sell or Mr. Buds if they would like to kind of review it. And I know this comes from the state of Michigan also.
Yeah. So taxpayers, if they meet certain requirements, can apply for a poverty exemption on their taxes. And this document is laying out some of the qualifications they would have to meet and the procedures that they would have to go through to qualify for that poverty exemption. In general, that's what it's about. I don't know if Mr. Buds wants to add anything to it, but that's in general what it is.
Mr. Buds, you have anything further?
Your Honor, the only thing I would say is that I believe that this was largely in place already and is an update due to the changes in the federal standards for what the poverty levels are set at to keep that consistent with federal law. So it's really an update to an existing policy already. And largely driven by, I'll say, state tax guidance also for how that will operate.
So as those adjustments came, we're adjusting to what's coming from federal and state government, correct? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. There's no, Councilwoman Biden, please go.
I move to adopt the resolution updating the poverty exemption standards and application for the 2023 assessment.
Motion by Councilwoman Viney, supported by Councilman Lamore. Item 3808, resolution to update poverty exemption standards and application. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Felder?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Steelgrave? Vining? Jermaine?
Yes.
Lamore?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
I have no further items this evening.
Well, it's December, so Councilwoman Felder, get to start.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, and certainly hope everybody a very festive holiday season. Small Business Saturday happened since last we met. Hope as everyone was able to get out into the downtown and do some holiday shopping. And then, of course, Giving Tuesday occurred as well. I know we talked a lot about vision during our work session, and in the midst of this end-of-year giving, I just want to say some words to the residents. Please make sure you take the time to reflect on the causes that you feel create the impact that you want to see in our community and provide the enrichment to the lives of the people that you love and make investments in those organizations. I think that what Mr. Hammond is doing is really something that we should all take a cue from. So that's all I have for this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Whitman?
I have no comments this evening. Thank you. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, but I'm talked out.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stelgrave?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just want to remind everybody to continue to go downtown and check out the beautiful Christmas decorations and the lights. And that Santa is in his little house there on Front Street on Thursdays from 4 to 7. So if you want anything special, go see him. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Vining, comments this evening?
No comments this evening, Your Honor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Germaini?
Goodness. Thank you, Your Honor. I want to mention that we had an event last Wednesday, an unfortunate event, but I want to commend our public safety departments across the board, the city, the sheriff, the state police, the fire department, as well as transportation. I know we were part of that as well, and the public school transportation. They responded admirably, and everybody worked together, and it was great to see, and they got those kids to safety. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. Councilman Lamore?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to congratulate the RRCA, the River Raisin Center for the Arts, on a very successful 3 showings of the Nutcracker this past weekend. As I understand from Councilman Felder, it was record-breaking once again. Glad to see that after all of the post problems we've had, health problems we've had in the last couple of years. So it's good to see that people are getting out and attending these functions. It's great to see a downtown action like this going on, especially when it's supported by so many people locally. So congratulations again to the RRCA on doing such a successful job on these showings. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. I just have a few comments this evening. I'll start, follow with Councilman Moore, the River Raisin Center for the Arts, a great weekend, and that Nutcracker brings so many people, not only from our community, but from around the region. And also their partnership, and along with the Monroe County Museum, a little opening reception there, some activities with the kids, along with the youth and the players there at the RCA. It's what our community is about, is sharing our resources, our nonprofits. You know, the Councilwoman Stilgrave mentions all the lights in downtown, the RCA, the County Museum, the other nonprofits we talked about, MCOP, YMCA, the library, the ISD, the LET. I could go on. We're all participants in that. Sometimes you see it all go on and you wonder who all's been a participant, and yet we have that here in our community, and we're very blessed for that. One of the items on the agenda, there's many items that get passed and you wonder, well, how do you make votes so quick and easy for those? But the idea is that these come up at our work sessions in the past. One in particular I want to mention is the Lake Erie Transit Agreement. We've been a partner with Lake Erie Transit for many years, since inception, and the idea is of providing transportation for those that need, and also other services. They also, as I said, were part of the community activities as they can be. But and I know that with us this evening is the Director CEO, Mr. Mark Jagodinski is here, as well as the chairperson of the Lake Erie Transit, Joe Liebick, is the city representative. I thank you both for being here this evening. They're here because the agreement was on there. Sometimes there's a growth and adjustments, and this allowed by additional partnership, additional growth of LET across the county, that a member seat was added because of Bedford Township and their growth of their use of LET. So we had to adjust some of the agreements as they come up. I thank council for their support on that as well. It serves the community as a whole, and I look forward as how Lake Erie Transit can grow across the entire county and provide services, you know, not only in the city of Monroe and Frenchtown and Bedford, but I think there's many, many opportunities, and I hope that other communities see that value and can join in and add to the service provided for all to get from one community to the next. And I'd love to see it from here to Dundee, because people would have an opportunity to share across, and it takes a lot of partnerships to do that. Downtown, thanks for mentioning that. There's a lot of activities. Every weekend there's activities downtown. And as you get through your holiday and Christmas shopping, please remember to shop local. Small businesses rely on these, not just the holidays, but the interaction with people. And I think if you come early enough and stay to eat or walk downtown and enjoy the lights downtown. Last thing, there's so many activities. There's one that's going on. It was part of the museum has done the Toys for Tots. Other locations has Toys for Tots. But there's another one that's currently out there that collects toys as well as hygiene products and non-perishable gifts. This one is going to be for shelter gifts as well as for foster children. It's being done at 1379 North Monroe Street, which is Deb's Florist there. And I know I didn't say it correctly, and she'll correct me for that later, but it's not florist. I'm sorry, but it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and they're going to be having that coming. There's other partners on there. I mean, they've all done it. It's there's Tino Mayo from Amaya's is there. Doves Flowers, of course, Allen Chevrolet, the Brain Jerk, all these organizations coming together for the betterment of our community and benefit for children. The development group, their Dev group is this as well. Now say it correctly. Deb's Floral Design. See, I almost got it correct. I will in the future. So the councilwoman didn't want to necessarily state that, but I think it's just another example of what we do in our community in partnership with others and crossover with our township partners. I think that is all the comments that I have this evening. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I just have one comment. The city tax bill has gone out. My comments aren't as fun, I recognize that. But the city tax bill has gone out, and judging by the phone calls I've received, I know that a lot of people have received those in the mail. For those in the audience and watching at home, if you haven't received it, please give our office a call or stop in, and we will help you to get a copy of it. So we're here 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Thank you.
Thank you. Manager, Mr. Sell.
Doesn't have any additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, this citizens' comments. If there's any comments from those present here this evening, you're welcome to make your comments. Just mindful of the rules of the chamber of 3 minutes. Please state your name as well as jurisdiction of residence.
I'm the general manager of Lake Erie Transit, and I'd like to thank you for passing the interlocal agreement. That agreement's been in place, I think, since about 1980, and it's renewed every 5 years. It's a partnership between the city and Frenchtown Township, and we appreciate that getting passed. It's important because without that happening, Lake Erie Transit does not exist, and that control lies in the hands of Frenchtown and the city of Monroe. The other thing you did mention earlier that Joe Levick is here, chairman of the Lake Erie Transit. He's been on the board for, I think, almost 35, 40 years. So it's been around a while, and he is your direct appointment to the LETC. You have 2 direct appointments to the LETC. Frenchtown has 2, and there's 3 at-large appointments. So coming up in the near future will be a letter to City Council and the mayor requesting an appointment of one of those at-large seats. It'll be the Bedford seat. So now that we passed the interlocal agreement, that actually is going to come into play right away. The other thing to give you a heads up on, I'll be here within the next year on a millage renewal because our millage is up in 2023. So just to give you a heads up on that. Things are going well at Lake Erie Transit, so we would hope that we're not asking for anything but a renewal at that time, but that again is up to the LETC. Last couple of things I'd like to point out. We just unveiled a bus, a Beauty in Your Community wrapped bus that's out there. It was in the paper recently. I think it's something that if you all get a chance to see, you'll be surprised at how really cool that bus looks. So you get a chance, check that out. Our transfer station is open right next door here and working out quite well. We had some issues at start, but those have all been resolved, and it looks like it'll be open now on a regular basis. So all's going well there. The last thing I had here is I lost my note. Oh, I guess that's it then. So thank you very much. And again, we appreciate all the work. The last thing was the middle school issue and LETC's response to that. This is where Lake Erie Transit is proud to be a community partner. And when we got the phone call that they needed buses, not for necessarily transportation, but to get the kids out of the cold weather. It was 25 and very cold and windy that day, and they had all these kids outside, and we didn't even hesitate. And literally within 8 minutes, we had at least our first 2 buses there to start putting kids inside the buses to keep them warm. And then literally within 15 to 20 minutes, we had another 3, 4 buses there. We were fortunate to have those available and some that were in service that were able to pull out of service and inconvenience some passengers a little bit, but we were able to get the service there as quick as we could. And I think that just shines on what Lake Erie Transit is as far as being a community partner. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, as Mr. Jaganiski goes back to his seat there, I just want to give some kudos and credits to not only the organization LET, but also the board members. And council has heard this at a previous meeting, but there was an opportunity for grant funding through SEMCOG, Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, and the #1 rated submission that had it was for carbon reduction. So, you know, obviously for clean air and clean vehicles, they were the #1, had the highest rating of reduction of carbon, and it was an $880,000 grant for the ability to get a new vehicle. So it's wonderful to see as you sit on those committees with SEMCOG to see that the #1 rated item came out of our community, and we're not the biggest, but we may be the strongest. So I'll leave it at that. So thank you for submitting that. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Andrew Shaw. I'm the interim superintendent at Monroe Public. And so I'm here tonight to say thank you, not only to you, but to start with Chad Tolsted. You have a diamond right there. He took that day and made it so it flowed very smoothly. He and I were on the phone as I was driving over to Navarre Field, and he had already told me, and I didn't even have to prompt him, that Lake Erie Transit was on the way. By the time I arrived, local police and fire were there, rerouting cars. Parents were in the process of already picking up, and that was within 15 minutes of the evacuation of Monroe Middle School. And so I just want to say thank you to Chad, thank you to Michelle. Lastly, too, is Josh Saudy is our SRO, and he is amazing at the middle school. Kids love him, and he took great control that day in making everything move smoothly. And when we've had a chance to talk about what happened that day and the response, it couldn't have gone any better. You know, it's one of those things you try to practice, but until you put it into real action, everybody stepped up and just did what they needed to do. It wasn't more than 15, 20 minutes, and we were putting kids on all buses. And it wasn't for Lake Erie Transit, and it's a big thank you to them. It would have been hard-pressed. We had 4 buses there, which means we were going to be able to handle about 60 kids on a bus at that time. And we were about 15, 20 minutes from the rest of our fleet showing up because everyone had gone home. But because Lake Erie Transit showed up when they did, we were able to get all of our kids on buses if they weren't being picked up by parents. So again, thank you to everybody for stepping up that day as a community, and hopefully we won't have to see that situation in the future. But again, as everyone came together, it made it much more livable. So thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for those comments. It's great to hear. Other comments from those present here this evening? Other public comments? Seeing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Whitman? Yes. Steelgrave? Yes. Vining? Yes. Germaini? Yes. Lamore? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. Thank you all.